Hello, good evening, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. Welcome to you viewers, wherever you are, as usual. If you're in Guyana, welcome. If you are in the wider Caribbean, um, you're North America, Brooklyn, Washington, D.C., Miami, Toronto, Canada, and other parts of Canada. Uh, If you're in Europe, of course, in England and France, the places where Guyanese tend to be, wherever you are, welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. We're going to be having a wide-ranging discussion this evening, and we're going to open the phones later on to get your take on the issues that we are going to be discussing. Quite a last couple of days of political news. And today is election day in the United States of America, where many of you are. Tight race in Virginia, tight race in New Jersey, a much easier race for the Democrats in New York, the mayor of New York, likely to go to the Democrats, likely to be an African American male. We've had David Dinkin in the past. We've had the other mayor who served there. So I take it that most of you went out today, cast your votes, because what happens today, as you know, is going to be a reflection of what is likely to happen in the midterms. Of course, the question for the Democrats is whether they delivered anything, and the commentary coming out of Virginia seems to be asking that question, whether in fact the Democrats delivered anything for their people. Neither of the two big legislative bills, the transportation bill and the larger social infrastructure bill, neither of them has been passed, although they could have passed the transportation bill, which was agreed to by the Republicans and passed in the Senate. But the progressives in the House did not want to vote on the transportation bill for fear that if they did that, then the other bill, the social infrastructure, the big bill, would not have been moved. The commentators are, of course, arguing that it might have made sense to go ahead and pass the transportation bill, because that would have given McAuliffe and Murphy in Virginia and New Jersey, respectively, something to run on. But we shall see. It's early days yet. The polls have just closed in Virginia, and it looks as though it's going to be a long night. So we shall see. Closer to home in Guyana, of course, the question of when parties are in office, whether they deliver anything for their constituents, has been a question that has dogged us in Guyana. Discussion, and the jury's still out as to whether when the coalition government was in office, that it did enough for its constituents. And many people are speculating that that may have contributed to the outcome, in the sense that although the elections were inconclusive, although the elections were part of a larger regime change, that had there been a larger turnout among coalition supporters, that it would have been difficult to engage in regime change. It would have been difficult to give the election to the other side. We will never know. We will never know, because in Guyana we don't do exit polling, we don't do a lot of polling and so forth. So we're left to speculate on these matters rather than to have the kind of data that we need. Anyhow, welcome to you all to Politics 101 this evening. The question we are posing this evening, is it time? Is the time ripe for something drastically, or something drastic to be done to pull the PPP to its senses? My own view is that after 1 year and 3 months, the signs are clear, very clear. The PPP intends to bully its way, not to listen to anyone, to rule in a one-sided way. It has even disappointed his friends. I saw a letter in today's paper from Christopher Ram, who was a big supporter of the PPP during the election. He went to court on the matter of the no confidence motion. He supported regime change. He accepted the narrative that the PNC attempted to rig the election. He's a big supporter of the government. I saw him in today's newspaper calling on President Irfan Ali to meet with the opposition leader and to go about the business of naming the Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice. They're both acting, and President Ali, who is mandated by the Constitution to meet or to get the agreement of the opposition leader to appoint these officers and other officers of government. He's mandated by law, by the Constitution, to do that. And he has refused to do it for 15 months. As we know, under the pretext that the opposition leader has not recognized him. And we have been arguing that nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the opposition leader must recognize you in order to you to sit down and get the agreement of the opposition leader on the naming of constitutional officers, such as the Chief Justice, such as the Chancellor of the Judiciary. In a sense, the president has been violating the Constitution. And we on this side have been pointing that out. And now we are seeing people who helped to elevate the government to office, and Mr. Ram, Christopher Ram, said that today. He didn't do what he did for the president to violate the Constitution. And he's calling on the president to meet with the opposition leader and name the officers. And then just before I came on, a news report came through that the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce proposes to mediate talks between the president and the opposition on the question of COVID vaccination. There seemed to be some misunderstanding because Mr. Harman is quoted as saying that they approach him and they want to mediate talks on a range of issues. According to the quotation from Mr. Harman, I'm quoting here from the Marara Waves, I did not have to ask that. They made that proposal and I said to them, I had no objection to them going ahead to doing something like that. That the extent to which more Guyanese are involved in ensuring that we have meaningful consultation that affects their lives, So that was a specific request which they gave. And I said the team which met with them, we are all in agreement, you can go ahead. But to the extent that we are talking about meaningful consultations, that is what we are talking about. But then the Chamber of Commerce President, Mr. Timothy Tucker, told the Marara Wave that the offer by his business organization was solely on the issue of getting the government and the opposition to work together on COVID-19 vaccination. And here is a quote from him. The chamber offered to be the bridge in the mitigation between the opposition and the government on the vaccination drive, not to mitigate the communication between the president and the leader of the opposition. We spoke to them on the basis of the vaccination drive being the bridge that unifies the two parties on the common goal of getting the country inoculated. So we are not clear. Harman seems to be saying that he said to them, I want to meet with the president on the larger issue of governance. On the larger issue of governance. Mr. Harman said that he raised the need for the government and the opposition to discuss a number of areas related to the governance of Guyana, including alleged political discrimination in the disbursement of relief cash grants. Mr. Tucker said that those issues were discussed, but the GCCI did not offer to be the mitigator between the two. But the Chamber of Commerce is saying Mr. Harman raised those questions, but they did not agree that the chamber would mitigate between the two leaders on that issue. Harman seems to be suggesting that he wants to meet to discuss those larger governance issues. Whether he is saying that that's a requirement, that's a condition for him to meet, we're not clear from the quotation there. Whether he's saying, I will meet to discuss the COVID vaccination drive, but I would also like to meet to discuss these other things. We are not clear. And this is where I think communication is important. I would have loved to have Mr. Harman here tonight. This is breaking news, and for him to come to tell you all what really he agreed to. I'm due to have Mr. Harman on this program next Monday. But it would be nice if Mr. Harman's spokesperson or somebody would have been here to tell us what really did Mr. Hammond agree to. Did he agree to meet just to discuss COVID-19 vaccine distribution? Of course, that's something we have been calling on the government to do a long time. Bring in the opposition. Let this confronting COVID-19 be a joint thing. The government did not budge. So we are not sure what Mr. Hammond has agreed to. We're not sure whether he agreed to just the COVID thing or the COVID thing and larger governance issues. We're not sure. The Chamber of Commerce is saying that their understanding is that they're only mediating on COVID. Now let us back up a little. All of a sudden last week, we had Schuman, Deputy Speaker Schuman, writing to the president and saying, you must meet with the opposition leader. And meeting with Mr. Hammond to say that Mr. Hammond must meet with the leader. So that was the first thing we heard. Then we heard the president say he's prepared to meet with Mr. Hammond to deal with the question of the constitutional offices under no condition. That is unconditionally. Then we saw Christopher Ram this morning saying that the two leaders must meet. The president must come off his high horse and meet. And then we have this thing this afternoon, the Chamber of Commerce is saying they must meet. So Mr. Schuman supported the PPP being installed in office. He was named Deputy Speaker, a position that usually goes to the big opposition party. Mr. Ram supported the installation of the PPP in office. The Chamber of Commerce was one of the loudest organizations, one of the loudest cheerleaders of the government. So all of a sudden, we have these people who were spokespersons and who helped to install the government in power. All of a sudden in the last week, they're now crawling out from under wherever they were, whether they were on the rocks, whether they were under something else, they're suddenly crawling out and saying to the government, meet with the opposition without conditions. This is 15 months after. The question that has to be asked, where were they for 15 months and why now? Where were they for 15 months and why now? Why now? These are people who helped to install the government when we were telling them last year that it doesn't make sense to install one government, one party in government, in an election that was inconclusive. What you're doing is you're giving one side an unfair victory over the other side. And you're doing two things when you do that. You're giving one side that you install, you're giving them spunks to take advantage of the other side. And that is precisely what the PPP has done. They've run roughshod for the last 15 months because they were given a blank slate. And then in imposing the PPP, you are angering half of the other population. You are increasing militancy of the other city, the other group. So what we have had for 15 months is a runaway government carried on as though it is the only party in town, having no regard for the law, having no regard for the opposition, having no regard for half of the population. And then on the other side, we have had growing militancy on the part of the people, the opposition supporters, not the opposition party. The opposition party has been engaged in its internal situation, but quietly, without us not noticing it, there has been a groundswell of people's resistance that has grown for 15 months. Even the people who are part of that resistance don't believe they're part of that resistance. If you listen, opposition supporters on shows like this, they're calling for the opposition to do something. They didn't realize they were doing something that will have an effect. So there are a couple of things that are happening here. The government has been bulldozing its way. But while they're bulldozing their way, there is a movement, a people's movement that has been growing. This program, Buxtonian Morning Time, In the Ring, Mark Benchop, Mr. Gavin Matthews, Brother Burke, we have been keeping you all engaged and mobilized. And you all didn't know that it was having an effect. A government that is running roughshod do not agree to a minimum if they do not fear something. There are a couple of things here. I'm sure the external forces have talked to the PPP and said that you're going down a road that is paved with coming disaster. The business people who have to put them in power realize that Christmas is coming, and opposition supporters are not likely to go and buy things from them. In fact, we would order a lot of those stores for Christmas, as we did in 1997, as we did in 2011. Buy only if it's absolutely necessary. The business people are seeing, they're anticipating that we are going to call on you all not to go and buy the thing for Christmas. So they're hurrying now to get the two leaders to meet so that your leaders will tell you, well, go buy for Christmas. Look, they've come to the table. So the business people are looking after their own economic interests. They know Christmas coming. And they feel that we are going to ask Guyanese opposition people, do not shop from them. So they're looking after their interests. They also realize that the government mandates is hurting them. And they want black people to go and shop for them. So they want to get the two sides to meet so that the mandates can be removed so that you all can go and shop from them. That's their interest in this. They don't want the COVID mandates to prevent you all from going and buying. They also don't want us, opposition leaders, to call on you all to boycott their businesses for Christmas. So they're hustling now Remember, I asked the question up front. Why now? For 15 months, they sat down on the rim of there and did not call on the government to meet with the opposition. Why now? And why now is their business interest. That's the business people. Why now for Christopher Ram and Leonard Schumann? They're not fools. They know that the PNC Congress is coming, and they know that the PNC leadership issue will be settled. And they're probably anticipating that after the Congress, the opposition now will be in a position to move to more drastic action, including perhaps taking to the streets. And they fear what will happen. They fear what will happen when our people move to the streets out of frustration and makes it difficult for the government to govern. So they are now trying to save their asses by saying, let the two sides meet. We were asking for the two sides to meet since last year during the impasse. We have been asking for the two sides to meet since the installation of the government in August. Nobody has been taking us on. And suddenly they realize that the government has been riding the donkey. And now it doesn't appear as though they can get off the donkey or they want to get off the donkey. And they know that when a government behaves like that, invariably the people with or without their leaders will react. Remember, before all of this, they say Rickford Bork, David Hinds, Sherrod Duncan, the three of us they named, they are causing problems. David Hinds calling people to undermine the government, and maybe people are undermining the government. Only the government will know that. My suspicion is that the people are undermining them. Mr. Ravidev, the IDEO law came out and called David Hinds a memory warrior. A warrior. A warrior. I plead guilty. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior for justice, warrior for peace, warrior for equality. And Mr. Christopher Ram, not Mr. Christopher Ram, Mr. Ravidev did that analysis. He said David Hinds chose emancipation. He chose Victoria. He chose a particular kind of language. He chose a particular type of tone. And then the people received his message. But in effect, he was telling his people that the PPP must go by any means necessary. You know what? The PPP understand this is where Amanza Walton Desir is vindicated. When the PPP communicates with its constituency, it appeals to their sense of honor. It appeals to their cultural self, their cultural being. It doesn't just appeal to their political being, it goes deep. When split peas was banned, because of the problems we had in the 1980s, what did the PPP do? Link that to Indian people religion. So it wasn't speaking just to their political selves. It was speaking to their cultural and religious selves. Deep, deep, deep. When PPP says to Indians, they're rigging elections, it doesn't mean they're not telling them to the votes wrong. They're telling Indians that these black people do not want you all to share Guyana. Deep, deep. Listen, Frankie Soon and all the other Indian colonists, what have they been saying recently? That Indian people have received the most violence in Guyana. Brother Guyana said that both sides inflicted violence, so no side is guilty. And what these Indian commentators are saying, Guyana is wrong. Black people are guilty because Indians have had to take the bulk of the violence. They're appealing to their emotions and the fears of Indian people. And King Kisun came out today and he said the black Creoles, that is the black middle class, the reason that they did not come out last year and oppose the so-called rigged election, it is because they don't want to be ruled by Indian people. Appealing to the end of saying to Indian people, there is something about you these other people hate. So they know something about how to talk to people politically. And guess what? I take a leaf out of their book. When I come on here, I'm not just talking to you all surface. I'm not just talking about PNC and WPA and PPP. I'm talking to you all sense of honor. I'm saying that when they kick down that door and they kill that black boy in Dartmouth, they want to kill all your sons. Let it go to hell if they don't like when I say that. All I'm doing is doing what they do every day. Yes, I'm appealing to your emotion. When I talk about slavery and the Middle Passage, yes, I'm using the education that you all made possible for me to get to remind you all of your narrative of suffering. You're the only people who were brought to this place in chains. Yes, I'm appealing to you all inner consciousness. From the PPP. That's how they speak to Indian people. That is why when they say the elections were rigged, every Indian or most of the Indians repeat it. Because they tell them that those elections were rigged according to them because they don't want you all to govern. They feel that you all are inferior. Of course, the Indians who don't listen to them are already on we side. I'm not talking to those who are on our side. That is why they fear the discourse on race. Because let me tell you all something, beautiful black people. The day race goes away, your ability to call attention to your suffering goes away. From the Middle Passage to the present, we have been oppressed because of our race. And they want race to go away. If race go away, then they will tell us, prove your oppression. So long as they have to deal with race, they have to deal with our oppression. And our oppression then, and the scars of the bondage we feel up to today. And they hate it when people like myself and Alexander and Lincoln Lewis and others speak to you all openly about race. You see, they have the political party in a bind. The political party cannot speak about race openly. We discussed this last week because the political party looking for votes. David Hinds is not looking for votes. I'm glad if you all will vote for the WPA, the party that I belong to. But that is not the end of that's not the beginning and the end of my advocacy. My advocacy goes beyond party and it speaks to your consciousness. They know when I said undermine. And yes, I said it in Emancipation Month. And yes, I said it in Victoria. And yes, I said it to have an effect that goes beyond yap about that goes to the consciousness, the deep reaches of our consciousness. And you know what? It has worked. They now realize that we are making sport. You see, while some people are calling on programs and want we going to tear up Georgetown and carry on and so on, there are other ways of skinning a cat. Now, you know, how many ways? Plenty ways of skinning a cat. The PPP pushes us, pushes our people to the point where they have to tear up Georgetown. The PPP has to take responsibility for that. We hope that that doesn't happen. We hope that that does not happen. But it must not be David Hinds who must tell people to go and block up Georgetown. It must not be our leaders who must do that. Our leaders must say to our people, you are people too, and use whatever tools you have at your disposal to bring this government to the table. Come to the table and let us discuss how together we shall govern Guyana. You are there not because you won an election that is clear-cut. The elections were inconclusive. So you are there conveniently. And all I'm saying, you could have come to the table since last year and said the elections are over. The white people put me in, but I know that I ought not to be here. I'm calling you in, Mr. Opposition, Mistress Opposition. Come in and let us talk about how we can govern together. You didn't do that. You fly high. Brother Valentino said, every bird that fly high got to come down back to the ground. And that their own people, their own cheerleaders are now saying, at least you have to begin to talk to these people. Soon they yap man, lebe, the lebe man. Tell them to see these stuff like Hinds and Amsterdam and Sarah Duncan on the Facebook platform. You got to put people to match them because they're hurting you. So they want to talk now. Doesn't mean they're surrendering. It doesn't mean that they're about to be reasonable. No, no, no. What they want to do is for us now to say they are willing to talk, take our feet off the pedal. No, my feet now going harder on the pedal. They're ready to talk. Not, they want to talk about COVID. The other one want to talk about the judges. We want to talk about COVID, we want to talk about judges, but we also want to talk about governance, according to Harman. And I endorse it. We want to talk about the people them that you're killing. We want to talk about the money that you're giving away to your supporters and giving on to our supporters. We want to talk about our role in sharing the government of a country that we have died for more than other people. Now is not the time to take our foot off the gas. Now it's time to press harder. That we get them to come to the table. We now have to determine what they want to talk about. Mr. Harman now has to negotiate. And I'm taking him to his word. He says he wants to talk about governance. He wants to talk about the money that they're giving away in cash grants. When you smell freedom, you must want to hug it up. You go to a party and you're dancing with a gentleman and he smells nice. You want to move closer and hug him up a little bit more, and vice versa. We get them now to talk about coming to the table. We're smelling something. And if we love the scent of it, we must demand more. So here is the story. Different constituents of the PPP, they're feeling it. Already, or people not buying in the market. Some of it is objective, they ain't get money. Some of it is subjective, they decide they're not going to spend the money at certain markets. That is the undermining I was talking about, my brothers and sisters. The ordinary people knew it. And so the business people, they're feeling it. When they count up the money when the week come, they know that they're being undermined. You always believe that the only way we can win is to go and lick down and broke up. There's a time and place for everything. That is what has brought them to the table. The government put mandate on vaccination and you can't go in the store and buy. They're feeling it. This was the same business community that called for the mandates. Now the mandates in there behind. Christmas is coming. That's when they make the big money. I'm launching here tonight a call on our people in Guyana only to buy from those people what you absolutely need for Christmas. Undermining the business community that joined with the PPP to get Guyana in this mess where the PPP is taking advantage of you all. They feel the only way to you all can undermine them is when you all march down Regent Street and they're gonna shut up the store. No, let the store open, but you aren't going in. Undermine them. Undermine the business community, undermine fair play and justice last year. They don't want to talk to Mr. Harmon. For 15 months, they didn't want to talk to Harmon. Harmon was like Kunsi. Now Harmon smelling like a rose. Do not buy from them beginning now. Let them feel the heat. Because of what they did last year, they now realize the consequences. They're playing to get sense. We're going to go and talk to Harmon. But Harmon going to talk to Irfan. And once Harmon and Irfan talking, then black people going to come and buy everything. Hell no. You all can get the government to talk to Harmon. And when we get what we're supposed to get from those stocks, we're asking for more. We're not taking our feet off the gas. We're not. You all believe that we weren't having an effect? You see, they would have been glad for you all to be sit down, doing nothing, come out of the struggle, don't talk, don't expose. But we've been doing this for 15 months. And while the political party is going through its problems, people like myself, Sherrod, AFC, Kidaki, WPA, Gavin Matthews, Independent, Mark Benchop, Independent, Rickford Burke, maybe PNC. But what is it? We have been the opposition for 15 months. We have brought the opposition leaders here in our programs to talk to you all. We have opened up our shows for you all to speak to you, to send messages to your leaders. And you know what? The PPP felt that they could have been able to fool black people and bring back people over to them. They started to boast since last year. Oh, the one go to New York, Anil, he's getting no opposition. Sometimes he had to beg the opposition, oh, why are you giving it opposition? Now they get opposition in there. When you not get Muma, I'm old enough to know proverbs. I grew up and still maintain a relationship close to the people on the ground. And I grew up in a village. So when you not get Muma, you suck granny. When you not get Muma, you suck granny. And that's what we've been doing for 15 months. Unknowing to you who are part of the movement, we've been building a movement. Movement doesn't have president and vice president and treasurer and secretary. What the movement has is power. Power. And that is why sometimes I would get annoyed when I go on Kidaki program in the morning, because there's a core of people there who wanted to say, oh, you're going to pick up gun and you're going to go, and those of you who are there on morning know why I fight, know that I fight those people. And I know why I think, because sometimes they could carry us away. I've been in this thing long enough to know when a movement is being built and when effect is being had. I never like when people gather. During slavery, they banned public gatherings. You couldn't gather in 1 or 2 or 3. The reason they know is that wherever we gather is to ganga and plan. On any given night, 1,000 of you are live on this program. Another 2,000-3,000 live on In the Ring. Another 2,000-3,000 live on Mark. Another 1,000 half live on Kilakiniman Ayukont. And they will know that on any given day, there are about 5,000 people live. We are meeting and greeting and mobilizing and educating and undermining them. They know that. Some of our people don't know it. We don't know our power. The power of organization, not necessarily a formal organization in a party or anything, but by just meeting and sharing. Yeah, you, yeah, me, you give me the strength to explain the things to you. And I give you the explanation so that you can be empowered to undermine them. So, here we are, sisters and brothers. We're at a critical period. And I'm saying, just as the PPP supporters recognize that the PPP is leading Guyana down the road of potential disaster, we have to recognize that. We have brought them to the table minimally. And we have to get them to the table now to discuss the real issues and to discuss the question of governance and government. We are saying we don't want dialogue for dialogue's sake, Mr. Harmon. We want a dialogue as an end. And the end is that we want our share of power. We want our share of power. If you are going to give $250,000 to your supporters, we want to be there in the government to get $250,000 for our supporters. We don't want to be outside begging you to give us, oh God, we get the pink slip, can we come? No, we want our leaders to be there in government. Come sit down and let's work out a solution. That should have been done since last year. Never too late. What we want is power, nothing short of it. See what the energy come? They start to rig the election already. We don't want the PPP alone to determine what happens at GCOM. Our commissioners are there, they're a minority because the chairperson is voting with the PPP. What do we do in such circumstances? We have to tell the PPP, hey, come sit down here by. Let we talk about the GCOM thing. Why you, the PPP, tell Go Kulburu he must go and apply? And then the chairperson and your 3 commissioners rig the criteria for Bodu to get to become the CEO. Once he faced this, when they kill Boston, I said, I'm not crying anymore. I'm to take off the gloves and let me pass away. I'm not crying anymore. Brother Bob said, now you see the light. Get up and stand up for your rights. Brother David Rudder said, we know who brought us here and who created the confusion. And we live in a world that don't need islands anymore. They don't need us for the sugarcane anymore. But now that we have gotten oil, they need us and they're going to manipulate what happens here. But we have agency too. I don't know about the rest. I'm arguing inside of the WPA, and we are going through our own internal discussions. We're going to make a big announcement in a couple of weeks. We have spent the last year reflecting while myself and Kidaki are out there doing our party work and doing the work of our people. The party will be locked in discussions. We're not gone anywhere. And I am arguing like a tiger. That we have to have a political solution. If they don't want to come to the table on their own accord, we have to bring them to the table. And the way you bring them to the table is that you first of all use what you have at your disposal. And then ultimately, if they're not going to come to the table and discuss the real issues, they've decided they're going to come now, and we're going to watch them to see what they discuss. And if they don't discuss the real issues, it is time for us to take it. That's all we have. We don't have armies. We don't have police force. All we have are our bodies in the open space. That's covered under the Constitution. All we have is our bodies and the open space. If when they come to the table to talk to Harmon, they don't talk right, they don't agree to the demands by Mr. Harmon on our behalf, we'll have to force them to do it, and then is when we have to take to the streets. Nothing comes before its time. In politics, what doesn't happen in a year does happen in a day. If somebody had told you all 2 weeks ago that they will be hollering and trying to get Harmon to the table, you all would have said, no man, let me go and broke up. Sometimes you have to say, oh, strain, brother, oh, strain, cool down the tempo. They have now said they will come to the table. We have to watch what they're going to talk about. And if they don't talk what we want to talk about in terms of our demands, next level, the streets, our bodies, the open space. When we came out of slavery, we won the right to be in the open space. Under slavery, we could not be on the open space. We were confined to the plantation. And when we came off that plantation on 1st of August, 1838, we won the goddamn right to be in the open space. And we have to use it. So that's here what I'm going to talk about. And if the talks don't include giving we share of the money, the talks don't include stop killing our men and justice for those who you have already killed. The killer must be charged and brought to justice. The intellectual authors must be exposed. The commissioner said you want people with GCE to join the police. What we want is them who are already in the police force to understand GCE and CXC about not killing Black people. Not CXC and GCE. What we want our policemen and women who are going in the force is to understand that every life matters. And that life matters. That's what the education we want for them. Not CXC and PXC and CXC. The education, the criteria for going into the police force is that you must not put your hand and kill not another Black person. If they want me to help in that education, I will come and work for free to teach our police people, our policemen and women, the value of Black life. I'm qualified to teach that. And I will do it for free. That's the education, Mr. Commissioner, that our policemen and women must have, not CXC. An education about the value of all life, including Black life. So we're going to talk. Keep we foot on the gas. Let it talk. Mr. Harmon must go there with instructions. He already knows and he has already put on the table. I'm going to have him here next Monday night. And if they don't agree to our demands, our economic demands, our demands for justice and equality, if they don't agree to it, we got to take the streets, brother. We got to take the streets, sister. And we are taking to the streets not because we want to take to the streets. We are taking to the streets because we want a particular outcome. We are going to the streets so they can come to the table and talk properly to we. The Indian people are people too. Amerindian people are people too, and we have to respect their right to share the government. So our demand must not be for the entire government. Our demand must be for our share of the government. 217,000 votes. We get half the votes. According to their count, is 49%. We don't know how much is it according to the right count, but if we take their thief income, it's 49%. So we are, if they don't settle, let us start to talk to them on the streets to get them on the table and settle. And they have two choices. They can come to the table and settle, or they can let loose their phantom And then once they do that, it is out of our hands. They will have to deal with the lion that they let loose. Nobody wants our country to go down that road. We don't want our country to go back to the 2000 and 2006 period. We don't want that. We don't want our country to get back to the 60s. But the PPP is intent on pushing us there. Let us exhaust all our possibilities. All our possibilities. And if we go down that road of disaster, it must not be because we chose that road. It must be because the government pushed us down that road. It's not a road, it's a hard road. And it's not a road that we want to go or we should go. Because that road, once you go down that road, it's difficult. It's difficult to recover. We have not even recovered. We've not even recovered from the 1960s violence yet. And the PPP wants to push us down that road. You know, the PPP don't care if 10 Indian people get killed, you know. They see them as collateral damage. We're going to push the opposition. We're going to provoke the opposition. And if a couple of you are dead, there's collateral damage to keep us in power. That's the cynicism of those people who are governing. Our objective in life must not be to kill Indians. Our objective in life must not be to bully Indians. Our objective must always be to respond to those who kill us. We are the ones who are being killed. There's not an Indian or in Boston. We are the ones who are being bullied. So our objective in life is to defend ourselves against the bullying. Not to go and beat up Indians and bully Indians and so on. That must not be our objective. Our objective is not to go and tear down Guyana and block it up, because at the end of the day, we got to build it back. Our objective must be justice for us, equality for us. And if they don't give us justice and equality, then the logic of that, they will have to deal with. That's not for me to deal with. That it will be out of my hands. What is possible for now is what we are doing here now, a heart-to-heart talk. I talk to you as a fellow sufferer. I talk to you as a fellow African Guyanese. I talk to you as fellow Guyanese. If you're not African Guyanese and you're East Indian and you're Amerindian and Portuguese who are supporting our cause, I talk to you as fellow Guyanese and as fellow human beings. When you've been through the slave plantation, you learn how to operate at multiple levels at the same time. You see, I don't believe that you don't talk race. Yes, we have a big tent. The majority of people under that tent black, and I got to talk to them in a language that they understand. And we have some Indian brothers and sisters who are brave enough to come on our side, and I've got to talk to them in a language that they understand. And we have some Amerindian brothers and sisters who believe in our cause, and I have to talk to them in a language that they understand. And then I have to talk to all of us, Indian, Portuguese, Chinese, Amerindians, in a common language. So there's not one language in this thing, brother and sister. We have to operate at different levels. Talk to Black people about their pain because they're feeling the pain different. They're feeling the pain in their belly. They're feeling the pain in their brains. They're feeling the pain all over their bodies. And you have to talk to them. Motrin may not work for them. It may have to be Tylenol. Our Indian brothers and sisters, they're feeling the pain too, but they may not respond to Tylenol. We've got to talk to them and give them Motrin. And our Amerindian brothers and sisters feeling the pain too, but we may have to give them ibuprofen. The painkillers have to be different because we feel in the pain differently. You don't live in a gated community, and I live in a little block-a-down house in Buxton, and you tell me that we feel the pain the same? At least our Indian brothers and sisters getting some crumbs off the table, getting $250,000 for sugar, getting another 250 or more for rice. And then they get in the 25 what all we getting and the 19 what all we getting. They're able to sweat out some of the fever in a way that those of us who are not getting the 250,000 can't sweat it out. We have to talk to the groups differently. We have to say to the Indian brothers and sisters, you're getting $1 million what Clive Thomas asked for. You're getting it. You already get it. But understand that you are being fooled. You're being fooled. And we have to say to Black people who ain't getting, we have to say you're not getting because you're Black. And you vote for the wrong party. And you're listening to them bad boys, Rickford Burke and Kidaki and them, Hinds and them. You say anyway forget big education, but he not coming and telling you all about theories. He coming and telling you all about undermining. Oh, they would love me to speak about the theories. We have to have a language for each section of the base, and then we have to have a universal language. And I'm saying this to my brother and sister, politicians, who believe you have to have one language and one size fit all. One size cannot fit all. When the sufferation differs. The sufferation differs. But there we have it, sisters and brothers. We are at a moment. I'm waiting on the operator to give me the cue to open the phones because I'm anxious to hear from you all. I'm anxious to hear from you all. Let not your heart be troubled. We have done well together. We've done well together for the last 18 months, the last 15 months. Even when we think we were doing nothing. Even when we think that we were just taking blows. You see, your effectiveness is measured not just by how you feel about yourself, but also about how those to whom you target your anger and your frustration, how they assess you. Never, never, never give that up. You're not determined just by how you feel about yourself, but it's how others feel about you. And they know the power. They know the power of what we're doing. They're trying to control GCOM. They're trying to take over GCOM. They want to bring back Gokul Budu, who tried to steal the 2011 election, and Vincent Alexander catch him. And you hear his name go up, like how they're trying to hang Mingo. This man get caught. And you don't hear the talk about Budu. You didn't hear all the thing in 2011 about saving democracy. The man is an election thief. And they are doing it to bring the man back. To bring the man back. They're fixing and rigging the criteria to bring the man back. That's how the PPP thieves. And they've been able, Ralph Ramkaran in this morning paper, had to come out and tell Kaiser News, that it's allowing Freddie Kissoon every day to lie on people. He lie on Ralph Ramkaran. And Ralph Ramkaran must he threaten. And Kaiser News, they lose Freddie Foot. Hey, Freddie Kissoon, are you listen? Listen to the big part, Freddie Kissoon. Dear editor, let me say up front, there was no intention to lie on Mr. Ramkaran. In writing the column, there was no intention to attack Mr. Ramkaran. The dispute happened a long time ago, almost 30 years ago, so there would have been some gray areas of memory. I hold nothing personal against Mr. Ramkaran. It was my sincere recollection that a libel suit was filed. I apologize if Mr. Ramkaran felt aggrieved. Mr. Ramkaran's statement that no writ was filed is accepted by me. I sincerely apologize. I can assure Mr. Ramkaran the matter is now dead for me, and I have no intention of ever raising the subject again. I would like to repeat that there was never any intention of insult or intent to lie on Mr. Ramkaran. Once more, I apologize for the 5th time and ask Mr. Ramkaran to accept my apology for the 6th time. In good faith, Frederick Kissoon. That's the bad man. I'm down, by down to low gravy. That man lies on black leaders every day. But you see an Indian leader, you see how he apologized to him? He used the word apologize about 10 times. Will he apologize to Guyana? Will he apologize to Vincent Alexander? Will he apologize to Mansa Walton Desir? Will he apologize to all of us, Clive Thomas, Ogunse, all of us, black men and women that he has abused? Will he apologize to Granger? Will he apologize to all those people? No, the man apologized like a little puppy to Ramkaran. It's okay. Freddie has now become an Indianist. An Indianist, Ravi, there's people that are laughing, you know. He has suddenly discovered his Indian identity, defending Indian people. And now he's caught lying. And he apologized like a little puppy to Mr. Ramkaran. I want him to apologize to the black leaders who he has lied and maligned and abused. And Ganlal must insist that he does. I know, Freddie, that letter that I read there, Freddie Kissoon will never write something like that unless the stakes are high. He will never. I know Freddie good. Nobody will get Freddie to write an apology like that if his tail was not threatened, because he's a frightened man. And perhaps Ramkaran has now given us the blueprint. We don't know how we apologize to Ramkaran, whether he will apologize to us. All of that is taking place. Because they're all realizing Ramkaran was one who agreed with regime change. Ralph Ramkaran, good guy, but he agreed with regime change. And Freddie Kissoon is operating as part of regime change. But when Freddie Kissoon bites Ralph, Ralph says that Freddie Kissoon is given latitude every day to abuse people. Ralph did not come out when Freddie Kissoon was abusing Guyana, abusing David Hinds, abusing Vincent Alexander, abusing Granger, abusing all the black leaders. Ralph Ramkaran did not open his mouth and say, Freddie, you're wrong. He did not open his mouth and tell Glenlan, why are you giving Freddie open thing to abuse these people? And Freddie bite Ralph. Ralph defended himself and Freddie apologized like a little puppy. God bless him. God bless Ralph. God bless Freddie. But this is the country we live in. Those who support regime change last year are beginning to feel the heat now. All of them who believe that Patio would come in and change the oil contract, they're disappointed. The man go to Ghana and say that we need to import labor. You don't want to import Haitians, you want to import labor, however. We got people in Guyana who need work. He's not saying, let me train these people for the work. He only training his constituents in quarantine on the sugar industry for the work. He's not training black people for the work. He go to Ghana and say, we need, one would have thought that we have 100% employment in Guyana, so we need extra labor. Our unemployment in Guyana is between 35 and 47%. And yet, a damn fool goes to Ghana and walking up his mouth and saying that you need to import labor. Well, the man obviously intends to keep black people unemployed. So we're going to have unemployed African Guyanese, and we're going to bring in excess labor. Where are we bringing it from? I don't know. The man is taking from the Chinese to build the Amarara Harbor Bridge when we get enough money, according to Brother Jordan. We got enough money in the National Resource Fund to build the bridge, so we ain't got to pay back interest on loan. Because as you know, if you take a loan, you got to pay back interest on the loan, then the price of building the bridge is higher. And then when we start to use the bridge, the toll will be higher. If we take we own money, we own oil money, and build the bridge with our own oil money, the cost will be lower and the consumers will pay less. And you're asking, why is Jack Dio doing that? Why is he going and borrow the money rather than use the money? Here, let me tell you all why. He's saving that oil money to give to sugar workers. He's saving that oil money to give to the Indian and Portuguese bourgeoisie class that support him. That's what he's saving the money for. He's not a dunce. He knows what I just explained. If you use me money to build the bridge, the cost is lower, the toll will be lower for people. But in spite of that, he get plans to the oil money. And the plans he got for the oil money are not good. We already see where the oil money gonna go. All you take note. That is why we cannot wait for 5 months, 5 years, sorry. We got to bring these people to the table now and let's discuss a solution. In 5 years, there'll be nothing left for us. In 5 years, there'll be nothing left for us. And why they vex with us is that we can come on a platform like this and expose them, expose what they're doing. And the more we expose them, the stronger is our case. The stronger is our case. So, sisters and brothers, that's the word for today. We have some technical difficulties, so we're not able to take your all calls. I apologize sincerely because I really want to get you all in on this action this afternoon, this evening, but we've had some technical difficulties. I apologize that we couldn't get your calls. I hope that we're going to be able to do that. On Thursday, we're going to have the WPA in the house. I want you all to know that I'm a WPA, but I don't populate this program with WPA issues and WPA people. And I do that for a reason, because this program is bigger than WPA. This program is a program that is aimed at all of our people, especially the sufferers of all parties. But I ask your indulgence on Thursday. We're going to have the WPA, a panel from the WPA going to be here, and I'll talk to them. I've been talking to PNC people all the time, AFC people, and I hardly talk because I don't want, that's not my politics. But on Thursday, we're going to have them on, the WPA. On next Monday, I'm going to have Mr. Harmon, and next Tuesday, I'm going to have Royce Ford, who has thrown his hat in to the race for chairman of the PNC. And I'm going to try to see if I get Amanza Desir, who has also thrown her hat in the race. But I know for certain on Thursday, WPA, the role of third parties in the present politics, what role can third parties play? And then next Monday, Joseph Harmon. Next Tuesday, Royce Ford. So there we have it. Good night. Thanks for staying with me. I hope I have helped to bring you even closer to where we ought to be. I hope that you can go and sleep tonight and know that what you have been doing, your time that you spend here every night on this program and in the ring that we're going to now tell Cheryl I say good night when you all go for there. And then you all left and gone to Mark, and tomorrow morning you all gone to Kidaki and so on and so forth. Know that your time has been well spent. It's not been in vain. They shall be weeping and wailing in the night, but what? Joy cometh in the morning. Our joy may be coming in drips now, but it will flow like water running down the side of the hills. in the fullness of time, which I hope is not too far away. Good night. Good luck. See you all on Thursday. I love you. I love you all so much.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, email your pledge to dhinds6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.